What if Tanjiro got a second chance to live his entire life, but this time he had training that no Hashira could even imagine? This is the story of a Tanjiro who underwent 999 years of training that turns him into the god of demon slayers.
A shadow descended from the sky, and Rengoku's entire body shuddered. "What a magnificent fighting spirit," a voice boomed. "But neither of you are Hashira. Well, the one with the fire aura looks like a Hashira, but you." Akaza, Upper Moon 3, was staring dead at Tanjiro. His smile vanished. He couldn't sense any fighting spirit coming from Tanjiro. He was completely empty, like the sun. "Who are you?" For the first time, there was a trace of panic in Akaza's voice. Rengoku drew his sword and stepped in front of Tanjiro. "Step back, Kamado. This is an Upper Moon. This is an enemy on my level." Tanjiro gently placed his hand on Rengoku's shoulder. "Rengoku-san, last time I couldn't save you. I watched everyone die." Rengoku looked at Tanjiro. There were tears in his eyes. "But not this time." Tanjiro stepped forward. "Akaza, Upper Moon 3, you have killed many Hashira." Akaza flared with rage and shouted, "And you're next!" He launched his attack, Destructive Death, Compass Needle. Tanjiro didn't even flinch. Akaza's punch, a strike that could tear straight through Hashira, stopped a mere inch from Tanjiro's chest. Tanjiro had caught Akaza's wrist in a dead grip. Akaza's mind went completely blank. When? How? What kind of monstrous strength is this? Suddenly, Muzan's memories began to flash in his mind. Yoriichi! Absolute terror gripped Akaza. Then, Tanjiro spoke. "You're afraid of the sunlight, aren't you?" Tanjiro raised his blade. Sun-breathing, 13th form. Akaza tried to rip himself away and run, but it was far too late. In a single microsecond, Tanjiro completed the perfect loop of all 12 forms. Akaza's arm was severed, and the battle was over in an instant. Akaza desperately tried to regenerate, but flames were burning from within him. This was the fire of the sun itself. It would not go out. "So this is the power of the sun," Akaza whispered in his final moments. Rengoku, who had been holding his breath, collapsed to his knees. He had never seen death so close. Tanjiro, you are truly, terrifyingly strong." Tanjiro smoothly sheathed his sword and turned to Rengoku. "Are you all right now, Rengoku-san?" Tears welled up in Rengoku's eyes. He wiped them away and let out a booming laugh. "Yes, I am perfectly fine, and I am alive, all thanks to you." But meanwhile, deep inside the Infinity Castle, Muzan felt his connection to Akaza violently snap. First Lower Moon 1, and now Upper Moon 3, completely annihilated in a single night? Muzan, a monster who hadn't felt fear in over 1,000 years, was now violently trembling. "Kokushibo, Doma, Gyutaro, summon everyone!" he roared. The war had officially begun. Back at the crash site, Tanjiro was filled with absolute joy because he had finally fulfilled one of his greatest goals. This time he had saved Rengoku. As the battle ended, Tanjiro pulled Rengoku into a tight hug. Morning was breaking over the wreckage of the train. The ash of an upper moon was still drifting through the air. Rengoku, a man who was usually incredibly loud and bursting with energy, was completely silent for the first time in his life. He had just watched a human fight on the level of a god. Zenitsu was shaking, but not out of fear. He was just muttering, "Tanjiro, the sun was literally rising from your sword today. I saw it with my own eyes." And Inosuke, who was always screaming, "Fight me, fight me," was sitting completely silent on the dirt, just staring at his swords. All his usual arrogance was completely wiped out. He had witnessed a power that he couldn't even dream of challenging. Tanjiro calmly sheathed his blade and asked, "Are you all right, Rengoku-san?" Rengoku took a deep breath and laughed out loud. "Yes, I am alive! You have made absolute history today!" Rengoku knew this wasn't going to be a normal mission report. This was history in the making. When the four of them finally reached the butterfly mansion, the scene was pure chaos. Shinobu and the other girls were standing by with stretchers, completely prepared for the worst. They assumed that after clashing with an upper moon, Rengoku would be on death's door if anyone even survived at all. But when Rengoku, Zenitsu, and Inosuke walked in without a single scratch on them, Shinobu was in absolute shock. "Rengoku-san?" Shinobu asked, totally bewildered. "Mission complete? Are you all unhurt? Where is the upper moon?" Rengoku's face turned dead serious. "Kocho, call an emergency meeting right now." Within hours, every single Hashira was gathered at headquarters. Sanemi was screaming, "Is this some kind of sick joke? Rengoku, did you tuck your tail and run?" Just then, Master Kagaya arrived and Rengoku delivered his report. Lower Moon 1 was killed. Immediately after that, we were ambushed by Upper Moon 3, Akaza. The entire courtyard went dead silent. The mere name of Akaza spiked the tension in the air. Rengoku emphasized his next words heavily. Upper Moon 3, Akaza, was also killed. Pin drop silence. Sanemi's jaw hit the floor. Obani's snake nearly fell off his shoulders. Sanemi exploded in rage. "Don't lie to us! Killing Akaza without casualties is impossible!" Rengoku replied flatly, "I didn't kill him. Tanjiro did. Sun-breathing 13th form. Akaza couldn't even regenerate. He was reduced to ash before the sun even rose."
Every single eye slowly turned to Tanjiro. You finally broke the silence. "I told you, this boy is entirely different." Tengen Uzui looked Tanjiro up and down and smirked. "Looks like a god is walking among us." Tears streamed from Master Kagaya's eyes. 1,000 years of darkness is finally coming to an end. Muzan is terrified. Kagaya made it crystal clear. "Tanjiro, you have shaken Muzan to his core. He will not hide. He will send his absolute best demons after you." Tengen stepped forward. "Master, my 3 wives have gone missing in the entertainment district. I highly suspect Upper Moon 6 is pulling the strings." He pointed straight at Tanjiro. "Kamado boy, you are coming with me. I am the god of festivals and you are the god of flares. Together we are going to flamboyantly destroy that place so hard the whole world will remember." Tanjiro was ready, but his 1,000 years of memories were warning him. This was not a normal mission. Muzan knew exactly what was coming. This was a trap. As soon as they set foot in the entertainment district, Tanjiro's demeanor completely shifted. Tengen was ready to jump straight into action. "All right, boys, let's get to work." "Wait!" Tanjiro cut him off immediately. Tengen was slightly annoyed. "What do you mean, wait? I don't have time for this." Tanjiro's eyes were closed, but his focus was completely dialed in. The air is incredibly heavy here. The scent lingering in this place doesn't just belong to Upper Moon 6. Tanjiro opened his eyes. See-through world, on. He could see through the very walls like an X-ray. There they are. Tanjiro pointed toward a massive building. Upper Moon 6, Daki, and her brother Gyutaro are inside. Tengen, Zenitsu, and Inosuke were floored. This kid just effortlessly decoded the entire mission while standing on the street. But this wasn't the trap he was worried about. Tanjiro spoke softly. "There is a third demon here, someone far more dangerous than Akaza. He's waiting for us." Tengen instantly gripped his blades. "What do you mean?" Tanjiro ordered, "Change of plans. You guys handle Daki and Gyutaro. I will take care of the real boss." Tanjiro scaled to the highest rooftop in the district and called out, "I know you're up here." A voice echoed from behind him. "Coming, coming. Wow, you actually found me." Sitting casually on the edge of the roof was a man, rainbow-colored eyes, holding a pair of golden fans. Doma, Upper Moon 2, Muzan's absolute strongest demon right after Kokushibo. Doma laughed playfully. "So you're the kid with the Hanafuda earrings. Takes some serious guts to kill Akaza. Muzan-sama is quite furious with you." Tanjiro was completely submerged in the selfless state. Doma couldn't sense an ounce of anger or fear radiating from him. Doma tilted his head. "Wow, you really are completely hollow inside. Akaza was right. Breaking an empty vessel is going to be so much fun." "Blood demon art, frozen lotus."
Doma launched his lethal ice attack, but Tanjiro was already gone. Sun-breathing first form, dance flash. In less than a second, a wave of fire flashed through the night air, and in the very next instant, Doma's heart was sliced clean out of his chest and launched into the sky. Doma's playful smile completely vanished. He stared at his severed hand. Why isn't this regenerating? It's burning. Tanjiro was standing right behind him. Intense steam was pouring off his blade. Upper Moon 2. Tanjiro's voice held no anger, no hatred, only absolute judgment. Your game is over. Suddenly, Muzan's horrific memories flooded Doma. For the first time in his eternal life, Doma felt true, paralyzing fear. This boy wasn't just a copy of Yoriichi, he was Yoriichi. Down below on the streets, Tengen and the others were fiercely clashing with Daki, but they had absolutely no idea that right above their heads, Tanjiro had death itself backed into a corner. Doma, a monster who constantly smiled and faked being entirely emotionless, was genuinely confused and terrified for the first time. Doma's eyes narrowed maliciously. It seems I severely underestimated you. Fine, Mr. Sun-breather, let's get serious. Doma fully unleashed his blood demon art. Instantly, 5 perfectly crafted ice clones of Doma materialized. These clones were just as powerful as the original and could use all the exact same lethal techniques. Doma cackled. Let's see you fight your way out of this. All 5 clones launched a devastating synchronized ice attack. The entire district was about to be frozen solid, but Tanjiro merely took a single step forward. Sun-breathing, solar halo dragon dance. A massive, blinding dragon forged entirely of fire roared through the air. It moved so impossibly fast that the human eye couldn't even track it. In a single fluid motion, every single ice clone melted into boiling water. The steam was so thick that Doma couldn't see a thing. Where did he go? Doma screamed. Right behind you, Tanjiro's voice echoed. Doma whipped around, but it was too late. Tanjiro didn't use his sword. He reached out with his bare hand and crushed Doma's jaw in an iron grip. You think you were a god? Tanjiro said, staring dead into his rainbow eyes. You are nothing but a starving animal. In absolute panic, Doma tried to unleash his ultimate trump card, Rhyme, Water Lily Bodhisattva. He tried to summon the gigantic, apocalyptic ice statue, but Tanjiro gave him zero chance. Sun-breathing 13th form. In the blink of an eye, the battle was completely over. As Doma's severed head hit the roof, it immediately began crumbling into ash. Unlike Akaza, no peaceful, tragic backstory flashed before his eyes. He felt nothing but pure, unadulterated terror. Muzan-sama, Doma whispered as his head disintegrated. This thing is not human. And just like that, Upper Moon 2, a monster who had devoured humans for centuries, was completely erased from existence in mere minutes.
While a literal god-level battle was taking place on the rooftops, down on the streets, Tengen Uzui, Zenitsu, and Inosuke were in a desperate fight for survival. They had managed to sever Daki's head, but exactly as Tanjiro warned, her lethal brother Gyutaro had emerged from her body. Gyutaro's blinding speed and lethal poison had Tengen pushed to the absolute brink. Handsome Hashira, Gyutaro mocked in his raspy, vile voice. Your wives are already dead, and now I'm gonna carve you up. Blood was pouring down Tengen's forehead. One of his eyes was severely injured. Shut up! I am the god of festivals. I refuse to die like this. But the grim reality was that Gyutaro's poison was rapidly shutting down Tengen's nervous system. Zenitsu was pushing Godspeed, and Inosuke was holding the line, but none of them could match Gyutaro's horrific speed. Gyutaro raised his blood-soaked sickle, aiming straight for Tengen's throat. Goodbye, Hashira. Boom! A massive explosion echoed from above. A burning house collapsed into the street. From the thick cloud of dust, a figure calmly walked forward. There wasn't a single stain of blood on his uniform. In his hand, he held a blade radiating a faint,
terrifying orange glow. Gyutaro completely froze. His demonic danger senses were screaming like crazy. Who is this? Tengen panted heavily and looked up. Tanjiro? Gyutaro locked eyes with Tanjiro. Then Tanjiro simply pointed his blade up toward the sky where ash was gently falling like snow. Doma's ash. Your superior, Upper Moon 2, just died up there. Tanjiro stated it as if he were just talking about the weather. Gyutaro's eyes practically bulged out of his skull. Liar! Lord Doma cannot be killed! Tanjiro ignored him and looked at Tengen. Uzui-san, sorry I'm a bit late. I was cleaning up the trash on the roof. Gyutaro completely lost his mind in a fit of rage. I'm going to rip you to shreds and eat you alive. He launched himself at Tanjiro at blinding maximum speed. Tanjiro didn't even move an inch. The moment Gyutaro's lethal sickles reached his neck, Tanjiro simply slammed the hilt of his sword directly into Gyutaro's arm. Crack! Gyutaro's arm shattered like glass. Before Gyutaro could even scream in agony, Tanjiro shot his other hand forward, gripped Gyutaro by the throat, and lifted him completely off the ground. It is a tragedy what happened to you and your sister when you were human, but it ends here. You do not have permission to murder anyone else. Daki screamed from behind, "Let go of my brother!" and launched a lethal barrage with her sashes. Without even looking back, Tanjiro spun his blazing sword. In a single flawless slash, both Gyutaro and Daki were completely defeated. The entire street went dead silent. Tengen Uzui, a Hashira who'd been fighting for his life and losing, was left with his jaw hanging wide open. This kid just handled Upper Moon 6 with one hand while holding a conversation? Tengen muttered to himself, is this kid a human or a god? Total, suffocating silence gripped the Infinity Castle. First Akaza, then Doma, and now Gyutaro and Daki too? Muzan, the entity feared as the most powerful being in existence, was physically shaking. The glass he was holding shattered into dust in his grip. Through his cellular connection, he had seen exactly what Doma saw. Tanjiro's cold, lifeless eyes. That flawless 13th form. Yoriichi. Muzan screamed so violently that the entire dimensional castle shook. How is this possible? He has been dead for centuries. Muzan finally realized the horrific truth. This demon slayer was not normal. He screamed his final order to Nakime. Lock down every door in the castle. Summon every remaining Upper Moons inside. Nobody leaves. Muzan was going into hiding. The most powerful demon king in the world was utterly terrified of a single teenage boy. But Tanjiro knew exactly what was happening. Standing atop the burning wreckage of the entertainment district, he looked up at the night sky, as if he were staring straight through the dimensions into Muzan's very soul. Run and hide all you want, Muzan, but I will hunt you down to the deepest, darkest corner of hell itself. What happens next? Muzan is backed into a corner and on the defensive. Tanjiro now has the absolute unwavering support of every Hashira, but Muzan is locked away in hiding. Will Tanjiro head to the swordsmith village to forge a new blade, or will he find a way to tear straight into the Infinity Castle? To find out the epic conclusion, make sure you tune in to the next part. If you guys enjoyed this Annie Zenshi What If timeline, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for more epic god tier content, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.